The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly around the research vessel horizon, its sleek metallic hull reflecting pinpricks of distant starlight. Researcher Arya Kim stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes scanning the unfamiliar star system. Something felt different about this mission, a subtle tension that vibrated through the ship's corridors. Commander Nathan Roberts approached her, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. "We're approaching the designated research zone," he said quietly. The team of 6 human explorers had been traveling for months, their mission simple yet complex. First contact with the Meridian civilization. Danny Park, the alien research liaison, monitored the ship's advanced scanning systems. Her slender fingers danced across holographic displays, translating complex data streams into comprehensible information. Unlike her human colleagues, she possessed a unique ability to process multiple information channels simultaneously. A sudden burst of energy rippled across the ship's sensors. The quiet hum of machinery transformed into a high-pitched alert. Arya felt her heart race as unexpected quantum signatures began to emerge from the darkness. "Something's approaching," Nathan muttered, his voice tight with professional tension. The Meridian scout ship appeared almost magically, its design unlike anything humans had ever encountered. Smooth, organic curves that seemed to breathe and pulse with an internal rhythm replaced traditional angular spacecraft structures. It moved, with a grace that defied known physics. Communication protocols activated automatically. Danny's translation algorithms worked frantically, decoding complex linguistic patterns that seemed to shift and change with each transmission. The Meridian language was not just a method of communication, it was a living, breathing entity. "They're requesting preliminary genetic and cultural exchange," Danny announced, her voice calm despite the historical significance of the moment. Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Just like that? No warnings? No preliminary discussions?" Arya studied the incoming data streams. The Meridian approach was different, direct, almost intimate in its scientific curiosity. They didn't see this as a potential conflict, but as a profound research opportunity. The ship's interior began to subtly change. Molecular reconfiguration systems adjusted environmental conditions, preparing for potential direct interaction. Oxygen levels balanced, temperature graduations modified, electromagnetic fields realigned. Danny's body tensed. As a hybrid researcher, trained specifically for cross-species communication, she experienced the encounter differently. Her neural pathways were processing information at speeds incomprehensible to her human colleagues. "Initial contact protocols are stable," she reported. "They're curious about us." Curious was an understatement. The Meridian research team viewed humans not as potential threats, but as a fascinating biological anomaly. Their data suggested humans possessed unprecedented adaptive capabilities that defied standard evolutionary models. Nathan watched carefully as holographic representations of the Meridian researchers began to materialize. They were humanoid but distinctly alien, skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light, eyes that reflected multiple spectral ranges, movements that suggested a profound connection with their technological environment. "Greetings, Earth representatives," the lead Meridian researcher communicated. The translation was perfect without a hint of mechanical interference. "We have been observing your species for considerable time." Arya felt a chill run down her spine. This was not a typical first contact scenario. This felt like a carefully orchestrated meeting where humans were both the subjects and the observers. The Meridian researcher continued, "Your species demonstrates remarkable potential. Your emotional complexity, your ability to adapt, your capacity for both destruction and creation, these are rare qualities in the known universe." Something in the alien's tone suggested more than scientific interest. There was an underlying current of admiration, fascination. The human team exchanged quick glances, unsure how to interpret this unexpected approach. As the initial communi, the research facility hummed with quiet intensity, its sterile white corridors a stark contrast to the complex emotions brewing within. Danny Park sat alone in her observation room, surrounded by holographic displays capturing every minute detail of human behavior from their previous encounters. Her fingers traced the digital images, lingering on recordings of human interactions. Something was happening that defied her scientific training. The electromagnetic signals her body generated were changing, responding to human data in ways she couldn't explain or control. Commander Nathan had noticed her increasing distraction. During team briefings, her attention would drift, focusing intensely on small human gestures. A laugh, a moment of frustration, a spontaneous act of kindness. These weren't just data points anymore. They were windows into something profound. Arya. Kim walked into the research wing, her casual movement catching Danny's attention. Humans moved differently, not just physically, but with an unpredictable energy that seemed to defy scientific prediction. Where Meridian researchers calculated every motion, humans seemed to flow, to react, to live. We're analyzing the cultural exchange data, Arya said, unaware of Danny's internal struggle. The variations in human emotional responses are unprecedented. Danny's research had begun documenting something extraordinary. Humans didn't just react to situations. They transformed them. A simple problem could become an opportunity for creativity. A conflict could turn into a moment of connection. A limitation could spark incredible innovation. Her personal logs became increasingly personal. Scientific objectivity slowly dissolved, replaced by a growing fascination that felt almost like attraction. Not physical, but intellectual, emotional. Something deeper than any scientific classification could explain. The facilities advanced. Monitoring systems began detecting unusual patterns. Danny's neural pathways were changing, developing new connection patterns that mimicked human cognitive flexibility. Her body was literally being reshaped by her study of humanity. During team exercises, she found herself watching humans more closely. How they supported each other, how they argued, how they laughed. Each interaction was a complex dance of emotions and intentions that no previous species had demonstrated. One particular recording captured her completely, a moment where a team member helped another despite personal risk. No calculation of advantage, no strategic benefit, just pure, spontaneous support. The Meridian understanding of cooperation seemed primitive in comparison. Her fellow researchers grew concerned. Reports were filed, discussions held in quiet, sterile meeting rooms about her increasing deviation from standard research protocols. But Danny couldn't stop, wouldn't stop. Humans are not just another species, she found herself arguing during a review panel. They are a living, breathing revolution in understanding intelligence and emotional complexity. The facility's lead researcher, a rigid Meridian scientist named Corral, looked troubled. Your observations are becoming dangerously subjective, Researcher Park. But Danny knew something fundamental was happening. Humanity was more than a research subject. They were a key to understanding consciousness itself. Her personal quarters became a maze of human cultural documentation. Music recordings, art analyses, emotional response studies. Each piece revealed another layer of human complexity. They didn't just survive, they created meaning. They transformed limitation into opportunity. The electromagnetic signals her body generated continued to change. Something was happening at a cellular level, a transformation triggered by her deep study of human potential. She was becoming something new, a bridge between two very different forms of intelligent life. Commander Nathan watched her carefully during team meetings. He recognized something was happening with Danny, something beyond standard scientific research. Her eyes had changed. Her movements had changed. Her entire way of perceiving reality was shifting. Humanity was teaching her something profound about existence itself. Not through complex scientific explanations, but through simple, unexpected moments of pure, irrational beauty. The research continued, but nothing would remain the same. Her fascination was just beginning. The research facility buzzed with tension. Danny Park stood before a panel of senior Meridian scientists, her hands steady, her voice calm but determined. Months of intensive human behavior research had led to this moment, a confrontation that would challenge everything her civilization believed about lesser species. Humans are not primitive, she declared. They are a complex, adaptive species with extraordinary potential. The panel members exchanged looks of concern. Research Director Koral leaned forward, his metallic skin reflecting the harsh laboratory lights. Your reports deviate significantly from established scientific protocols. Danny's research documented something unprecedented. Humans possessed an ability to overcome challenges that defied standard evolutionary models. Where other species would calculate and retreat, humans invented, adapted, and pushed forward. Her documentation showed remarkable examples. A human medical team working in impossible conditions. Engineers solving complex problems with limited resources. Artists creating beauty from moments of extreme difficulty. These weren't just isolated incidents, they represented a fundamental approach to existence. The facility's communication networks began to light up. Her research was leaking, spreading beyond the controlled research environment. Younger Meridian, researchers began asking questions, challenging established understanding. Look at this, she said, projecting a holographic display of human innovation. A video showed engineers rebuilding a community after a natural disaster. No strategic calculation. No immediate benefit, just pure spontaneous cooperation. Koral's voice grew sharp. Your emotional attachment is compromising scientific objectivity. But Danny knew something fundamental was happening. Humanity represented more than a research subject. They were a living example of potential beyond traditional scientific understanding. Her personal quarters became a war room of information. Walls covered with human achievement documentations. Music that expressed complex emotions. Art that challenged perception. Scientific breakthroughs that came from unexpected sources. The Meridian scientific community began to divide. Some saw her research as dangerous. Others saw it as a breakthrough. Heated debates spread through research networks, academic channels, government communication systems. Commander Nathan from the Human Exploration Team watched the developing situation. He understood the profound nature of what was happening. Danny wasn't just presenting research. She was challenging an entire civilization's understanding of intelligence. Isolated communication channels began to support her findings. Young Meridian researchers started requesting transfer to human interaction research programs. The established scientific hierarchy felt threatened. Humans demonstrate emotional intelligence that surpasses our current understanding, Danny argued, in her final presentation. They don't just survive. They create meaning. They transform challenges into opportunities. Her research documented human capabilities that defied traditional scientific classification. Problem-solving that went beyond logical calculation. Emotional support that challenged survival strategies. Creative thinking that reimagined impossible scenarios. The research facility became a battleground of ideas. Danny's findings threatened everything the Meridian civilization believed about species classification. She wasn't just presenting data. She was proposing a revolutionary understanding of intelligence itself. Koral made a final attempt to discredit her. Your research is compromised by emotional attachment. But Danny stood firm. Emotional intelligence is not a weakness. It's the most advanced form of adaptive capability. Her personal cost was significant: professional isolation, potential career destruction. But she understood something profound was happening. Humanity represented a living revolution in understanding consciousness. The communication networks continued to buzz. Her research spread. Questions emerged. Challenges to established scientific understanding multiplied. Something fundamental was changing. And Danny Park was at the center of a scientific revolution that would transform everything. The intellectual rebellion had begun. Isolation changed everything for Danny Park. Removed from her primary research position, she found herself in a small research station at the edge of known space. But isolation didn't mean defeat. It meant transformation. Her body was changing. Not just mentally, but physically. The continuous study of human emotional patterns had triggered something unexpected in her Meridian biological structure. Neural pathways developed new connection patterns. Emotional receptors expanded beyond standard classification. Commander Nathan was the only regular contact she maintained. His weekly communication logs became her lifeline, a connection to the human world she had grown to understand and admire. "They want to silence you," Nathan said during one communication session. "But your research is too important." Danny's research station became a sanctuary of discovery. Walls covered with human cultural documentation, music recordings, artistic expressions, scientific breakthroughs. Each piece told a story of human potential that defied traditional understanding. Her personal logs became more than scientific documentation. They became a narrative of understanding. How humans transformed challenges, how they created meaning from limitation, how emotional intelligence represented the most advanced form of adaptation. The Meridian Research Council continued their attempts to discredit her work. Official communications blocked her research publications. Professional networks restricted her access. But information found ways to spread. Young Meridian researchers began secretly accessing her research. Communication channels buzzed with forbidden knowledge. Her documentation of human potential became an underground academic revolution. Something fundamental was happening to Danny's physical structure. Her body generated new types of electromagnetic signals. Emotional responses became more complex. She was becoming something new, a bridge between two different forms of intelligent life. Her daily routine transformed. Meditation techniques learned from human psychological studies. Physical exercises that combined meridian precision with human emotional flexibility. She was reinventing herself. The small research station became a laboratory of personal evolution. Each day brought new discoveries about herself, about human potential, about the nature of intelligence itself. Commander Nathan's communications became more frequent. "Your research is changing everything," he would say. "You're showing a different way of understanding life." Danny understood the personal cost of her rebellion, professional isolation, potential complete removal from her research community. But she had discovered something more important than personal safety. Humans represented a living revolution in understanding consciousness. Their ability to create meaning, to transform challenges, to support each other. These were not weaknesses. They were the most advanced form of adaptive intelligence. Her body continued to change. Neural pathways developed new connection patterns. Emotional receptors expanded. She was becoming something entirely new, a hybrid of scientific precision and human emotional complexity. The research station's communication systems began to pick up unusual signals. Her transformed biological structure was generating data that defied previous scientific understanding. She was becoming a living research subject. Memories of her previous life became distant. The rigid Meridian research protocols, the limited understanding of intelligence, the fear of emotional complexity. All of it seemed small now. Isolation had become her greatest strength. Without institutional restrictions, she could explore human potential fully. Document, understand, transform. Her personal logs became a manifesto of discovery, not just about humans, about the nature of intelligence itself, about the profound potential of emotional connection. Commander Nathan's final communication before a long mission carried a profound message. "You're not just researching humans," he said. "You're becoming something new." Danny looked out the research station's observation window. The vast darkness of space stretched before her, a perfect metaphor for the unknown potential she was discovering. Her transformation was just beginning, and everything was about to change. The Galactic Conference Hall fell silent when Danny Park walked onto the stage. Years of isolation, research, and personal transformation had prepared her for this moment. Hundreds of Meridian scientific leaders watched, their metallic skin reflecting the harsh conference lights. Her presentation was unlike any scientific communication in Meridian history. Not a clinical report, but a passionate exploration of human potential. Images, sounds, emotional data streams cascaded behind her, telling a story deeper than words. "Humans are not a species to be studied," she began. "They are a living example of evolutionary potential. The hall buzzed with tension. Senior researchers shifted uncomfortably. Her transformation was visible, not just in her presentation, but in her physical presence. Something fundamental had changed about her biological structure. Video recordings played. A medical team saving lives in impossible conditions. Engineers solving complex problems with limited resources. Artists creating beauty from extreme challenges. Each moment challenged everything the Meridian civilization understood about intelligence. Research Director Corral, her former supervisor, watched with a mixture of fear and fascination. Danny was no longer the young researcher he had tried to silence. She had become something entirely new. Her documentation showed how humans transformed limitations. Where other species calculated and retreated, humans invented. Where traditional intelligence saw barriers, humans saw opportunities. Their emotional complexity was not a weakness. It was their greatest strength. Intelligence is not about calculation, Danny explained. It's about creating meaning, about supporting each other, about transforming challenges into opportunities. The conference hall began to change. Young Meridian researchers leaned forward. Communication networks lit up. Her presentation was spreading beyond the physical space, reaching researchers across multiple star systems. Commander Nathan watched from a remote communication link. His support had been crucial during her years of isolation. He understood the profound nature of her discovery. Danny's biological transformation became part of her presentation. Her neural pathways had developed new connection patterns. Emotional receptors had expanded. She was living proof of the potential she described. Humans don't just survive, she continued. They create, they support, they transform. Research logs, emotional data streams, cultural documentation, each piece told a story of human potential, not through scientific language, but through moments of pure, unexpected beauty. The Meridian leadership's resistance began to crumble. Her documentation was too comprehensive, too profound, too real to be dismissed. Research Director Corral finally spoke. Your research challenges everything we understand about intelligence. Danny smiled. That's exactly the point. Communication. Networks across the Meridian civilization began to transform. Young researchers demanded access to her complete research. Academic channels opened. Discussions began. Her presentation was more than a scientific report. It was a manifesto of understanding. A bridge between two different forms of intelligent life. The conference hall became something new. Not a place of rigid scientific presentation, but a space of discovery, of potential, of understanding. As her presentation concluded, something profound happened. The Meridian scientific leadership began to see humanity differently, not as a species to be studied, but as a living example of evolutionary potential. Commander Nathan's communication came through. You've changed everything, he said. Danny looked out over the conference hall. The rigid scientific hierarchy was transforming. Her years of isolation, her personal transformation had led to this moment. The universe was about to become a more interesting place. Her journey was complete. But something new was just beginning. Cation continued. Nobody realized how profoundly this encounter would change everything. Humanity was about to be studied, not as a potential threat, but as a unique evolutionary marvel that defied conventional understanding. The first encounter had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again.